So in just a few hours, President Trump is set to hold a high-stakes cabinet meeting at the White House as his administration maps out the next steps in their negotiation with Iran.
But Iran is threatening retaliation after accusing the U.S. of violating their fragile ceasefire agreement.
It was self-defense. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joins us from Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. The final details in agreement between the United States and Iran are still being discussed, but tension across the region has certainly decreased. There is hope right now about reaching some sort of deal that would avert a return to war, but also address Iran's nuclear program and open the Strait of Hormuz. Regional officials say that implementation of an agreement is even more important than what is written in a possible deal.
I think there's strong alignment and agreement on what a preliminary draft should look like. I think that, like anything with something like this, it's going to take a couple days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word, sentence. So we'll have to work through that. If there's going to be a deal, we're going to have to work through that. But this is, it's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be one.
We're also tracking the conflict between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. An Israeli official told Fox News that preparations are underway for the upcoming meeting in Washington on Thursday that will formally mark the start of the military-to-military channel between Israel and Lebanon. The official added that Iran hopes the broader ceasefire will undermine the current efforts between Israel and Lebanon aimed at weakening Hezbollah. Overnight, the IDF launched a series of airstrikes in southern Lebanon as ground forces are advancing deeper into Hezbollah territory.
Under my direction and that of the defense minister, together with the chief of staff, we are deepening our operation in Lebanon. The IDF is operating with large forces on the ground and taking control of strategic areas. We are fortifying the security zone to protect the northern communities.
Overnight, the Israelis also conducted a new strike inside Gaza, going after the latest Hamas military commander. Guys?
So, Trey, can you explain to us the internet situation happening currently on the ground right there? What type of, is it still the intranet, meaning the Iranians still have control of it, or can they start to see what's happening outside now?
Yeah, open source intelligence indicates that the internet is largely back online in Iran, around 88%. And this is a major development because since even before Operation Epic Fury in early January, the government in Iran shut down the internet, creating a blackout situation for the more than 90 million people that live there. It was very challenging for people to get information out. And we saw those demonstrations against the government early this year, and they were met with live ammunition. President Trump says around 42,000 people were slaughtered in the streets of their own country. So we do anticipate getting new images and information out of Iran in the aftermath of those demonstrations, and of course the war earlier this year. But it is the first time following a decree by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian that the majority of Iranians can be back online.
Yeah, I mean, Trey, you were saying there were long lines at the gas stations last week, and you were talking about many of the businesses were being closed. They're really being squeezed. We were wondering if they're squeezed so tightly for so long, when do they finally say, fine, you can have the enriched uranium, just leave us alone?
It's a great question. Look, what President Trump has done here is create an unbearable situation for the Iranian regime. The Iranian economy is crumbling as a result of the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports, and it is choking off not only the crude oil exports, but also larger exports for the entire country are down 90%. The crude oil extraction is around 50% of what it's supposed to be, and the regime is suffering. They are facing new domestic internal pressure, and as a result, they have arrived at the negotiating table, and they are making these concessions. Despite a lot of the reporting that is out there, you have to trust the process in all of this, because the Iranians are in a very difficult economic situation, and after they suffered those battlefield defeats earlier this year, they are anxious to make a deal with President Trump.
So, Trey, so the president, they say the president, Pezeshkian, is the one who said, put the internet back on. But I also understand the IRGC told the president, basically, what you're agreeing to with our president, President Trump, is not going to fly with them. So what do you think our strategy, an effective strategy, would be? If we're dealing with a president that doesn't have the power in Iran, our only alternative would be to deal directly with the IRGC, who doesn't seem to want a deal. Is that what's on the president's table today when he convenes in the Oval Office?
Yes, absolutely. It's a massive challenge for the Trump administration, but having talked to the president a number of times this year about Iran and the situation on the ground, he understands who he is dealing with. He understands there is a divide within the Iranian leadership in Tehran. You have relatively more moderate voices like Masoud Pezeshkian, the president, or Mohammad Khalibaf, the parliament speaker. But then you have these IRGC commanders who would like to go back to war against the United States, even though it's almost certain that they will fail in their efforts to do so. I think we have to look at the situation on the ground to understand how the United States is dealing with this divide inside of Iran. They are still negotiating, working out those details with regional partners at the table, but also they are striking Iran when needed. Early in this month, there were strikes against the coastal areas around Bandar Abbas. Even just 48 hours ago, the United States military struck at least one surface-to-air missile launching position and a number of those small vessels for mine laying in the Strait of Hormuz. And it's an indication that the military option remains on the table, and President Trump holds the cards here. He is in control on the battlefield and at the negotiating table.
All right, Trey, thanks so much.
Good job, Trey.
Things change by the minute. President's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot to consider. I just think that the only answer for the people who are against is you got to go back to the fighting. There's no way we can possibly trust these people to do anything.
What gives me hope, though, Ainsley, is that the president is not rushing. You know, it looks like, you know, that's our job in media, to get the story as it's developing. And we go, bada boom, boom, you know, he's going to strike. He's not going to strike. It's going to be a deal in 7 days. It's going to be a deal in 3 days. But he's taking a moment to breathe, get the cabinet, talk about messaging, talk about the next plan of action. I think that tells the Iranians that the ball is in the president's court, not theirs.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.